Although this video reviews many of our rules and regulations, it is not intended to cover all rules and regulations. You are still responsible for reviewing facility and storage safety and environmental procedures and being familiar with OSHA and other state and federal regulations as they relate to the job activity you will be performing. If you have a question about the material covered in this presentation or need additional information, please contact the control room or any Oneok representative. Welcome to Oneok. We are pleased to have you at this facility as a contractor and want your work at this facility to be safely and successfully completed. For these reasons, we're taking a few minutes to introduce you to our facility and to some important things to be aware of that will make your work here safe and successful. You will be required to renew your orientation each calendar year and will be given a new Oneok hard hat decal each year you complete the orientation. Each person working at this facility has stop work authority. Stop work authority is the responsibility and duty of all personnel, Oneok, contractors, and visitors to stop work when an unsafe condition or act is observed that could affect the safety of personnel and/or the environment. This facility handles and processes normal butane by pipeline and converts it to isobutane. The facility also handles hydrogen. Hydrogen gas is lighter than air. It burns clear with no color in the flame if contaminants are not present. The pressure drop across a leaking flange connection causes static electricity that can possibly ignite it. There are some common hazards associated with these products that we want to make you aware of. They are highly flammable, can cause frostbite when in direct contact with skin, and can displace oxygen and become an asphyxiant. When released, a vapor cloud or fog will form. It may be odorless or have a petroleum smell. Please work carefully and follow our safe work practices. You will find access to safety data sheets readily accessible at the control room. They are provided for your safety and information. Please refer to the safety data sheets before handling any chemicals you are not familiar with. For your added safety and security, we ask that each contractor sign in and out each day at the facility's control room. You may also be required to provide an employee list, depending upon the type of work you will be doing here. In the event that an emergency evacuation occurs, the sign-in sheets will be used to make sure that all employees and contractors are accounted for. Among the procedures followed here at Oneok, you will find that personal protective equipment, PPE, is required for access to the facility. Please comply with these requirements, which include the use of an approved hard hat, safety glasses with side shields, flame-resistant clothing meeting NFPA 2112 or NFPA 70E HRC2, appropriate safety-toed protective footwear, hearing protection when needed, and gloves must be on you and worn while performing work. In process areas containing NGLs or LPG products, flame-resistant or flame-retardant clothing is required that meets NFPA 2112 or NFPA 70E HRC2 requirements. The flame-resistant or retardant clothing must be the outermost garment worn in order to provide you with maximum protection from fire. Note, shirts or coveralls must be buttoned up, zipped up, and sleeves rolled down at all times. Shirts must be tucked in. Additional PPE, such as face shields or welding PPE, may be required based on the hazard assessment pertaining to the work you will be doing here. Portable extinguishers are located throughout this facility and are for emergency use only. Sanitation facilities may be provided in the form of portable facilities. The location of designated facilities will be made known to you depending on where you will be working. Should medical attention be needed, first aid kits are located in the control building. All injuries, illnesses, or accidents must be reported to a Oneok representative as soon as possible. If further medical assistance is needed, an emergency medical service will be notified and the injured person will be transported to the appropriate facility. If you encounter hazards or potential hazards that your Oneok representative has not made you aware of, stop work and report the hazard at once. Also inform your Oneok representative of any unique hazards presented as a result of the work you are to perform. If you are unable to reach your Oneok representative, please contact the control room by radio or by dialing 620-834-2220 or 620-727-1440 on an outside line. Remember to report all personal injuries, vehicle incidents, spills, fires, explosions, or releases of product promptly. Your safety and the safety of all individuals at this facility may depend on it. Know where the closest emergency showers and eye wash stations are located throughout the facility. There are a variety of barricade and boundary measures used at this facility. Please respect any barriers you come upon and do not enter areas unless you have been specifically authorized to do so. As part of your work here, you will be required to obtain a safe work permit for the work you will be performing. A work permit must be issued for general work activities, lockout, tagout, line or equipment opening, hot work activities such as the use of electrical tools, welding and grinding, vehicle entry, confined space entry, and critical jobs such as flare system work or critical lifts. Specific work practices must be followed at this facility. We will address them during the work permitting process by the type of work being done. All work should be done in accordance with applicable state and federal regulations. When conducting hot work, the hot work vehicle entry section must be complete prior to beginning work. Examples considered hot work are welding, oxyacetylene cutting, open flames, internal combustion engines, abrasive grinding or blasting, breaking concrete, metal chipping, using electric tools, power-actuated tools, drain sewer augers, sand blasting, hot tapping, space heaters, photo flash equipment, and cell phones are considered to be hot work. A safe work permit with a completed hot work vehicle entry section must be issued before beginning work. In the event a fire watch is required for a particular job, the contractor is required to supply their own fire extinguisher and trained fire watch personnel, and must remain at the job for 30 minutes due to the possibility of flare-ups. Work areas should be free of flammables. If a fire hazard cannot be removed, then use preventative measures such as water spray, wetted tarps, flame retardant tarps, fire boxes, or fire blankets to guard against heat, slag, or sparks that could result in a fire. Also consider the effect hot work may have on the surrounding area and other work activities. Confined space entry. Personnel entering tanks, towers, reactors, boilers, heaters, furnaces, lines, sewers, trenches, truck rack scales, underground valve setting, excavations determined to be a confined space, or any other area where hazardous vapors may be present or where a deficiency of oxygen is likely, is required to obtain a safe work permit with the confined space entry section completed before beginning work. Areas undergoing excavation activities must be properly barricaded to warn personnel of open excavations and to prevent accidental falls and injuries. All excavations must comply with OSHA regulations and Oneok excavation safety procedures. The person or company performing the excavation is responsible for making the appropriate one call. An excavation checklist is available from your Oneok representative and should be completed prior to entering any excavation. It will include information on proper shoring, protective systems, utility review, signs, barricades, site conditions, and other specific details. Once the excavation checklist is completed, attach it to the safe work permit. Oneok has specific requirements for proper lockout, tagout procedures. These procedures comply with OSHA and include the facility's energy control lockout, tagout program. All equipment must be locked out and/or tagged out to prevent accidental startups where injury or other hazardous conditions could occur. It is important to consider what stored or residual energy may be present and to isolate and release that energy properly. As a contractor at this site, you will be expected to follow the Energy Control Lockout Tagout policy that will include an on-site review of the energy control locations with Oneok personnel. If your company policy requires locks, then utilize them. They will be incorporated into our energy control program. A full body harness with secured lanyards must be worn by employees working over 6 feet above ground level and who are not working from a scaffold or platform with an approved guardrail system. 100% tie-off at all times. Fall protection equipment, including mesh and retractable lanyards, must be inspected prior to each use. If used to break a fall, the fall protection equipment must be removed from service. Critical jobs such as critical lifts, hot taps, flare work, explosive devices, stop-all jobs, inert confined space entries, procedure deviation, bypassing safety interlocks, or other activities determined by Oneok to be critical require a critical job safe work permit, along with the Oneok management approved job safety analysis and/or written procedure. Any chemical brought onto Oneok property must be accompanied by a current safety data sheet. Protective clothing and equipment must be used in compliance with proper handling procedures for all chemicals used. Appropriate respiratory protective equipment must be used when needed as determined by hazard assessment and the safety data sheets. A vehicle entry permit is required for activities conducted off defined roadways. Vehicles and/or equipment must be properly insured and labeled with the company name. Do not block roads or other access points while you are on this property. Do not use your vehicle or work equipment to evacuate in the event of an emergency. They can be a potential source of ignition. Never leave a vehicle or equipment unattended with the engine running. When parking off designated roadways or designated parking areas, you will need to have wheels chalked and parking brakes set. Remember to do a 360 walk-around inspection prior to operating your vehicle. Seatbelts are required and pay close attention to the speed limit signs. All powered equipment must be attended when running. A qualified operator must be at the controls at all times when the equipment is in operation. Only a single operator is allowed to ride in or work on vehicles and equipment. The operator is to remain at the controls as long as the unit is attached to a pipe, a man basket, or other equipment. As in all other safe work practices, be mindful of the danger of sparks or sources of heat that may cause a fire. Park away from tall grass. Be constantly aware of the equipment's size, load, and weight to prevent collisions with facility structures. A spotter should be used when moving any large equipment. Notice should be given to warning signs and caution taken concerning above-ground piping that may be in your work area. Riding in the bed of a vehicle is not allowed. Insulation is not to be removed unless authorized by Oneok personnel. Unless known, all insulation should be treated as asbestos-containing material, ACM, and proper procedures should be followed for removal. We ask that you bring nothing on site that may compromise safety. Drugs, alcohol, and firearms are prohibited on this site. Do not violate these restrictions. This facility is also designated as a tobacco-free facility. Smoking is allowed off Oneok property at designated areas. Chewing tobacco is not allowed in any Oneok building or Oneok vehicle. Violations of these policies will not be tolerated at this facility. The alarm system at this facility consists of 2 distinct audible alarms within the process area and are defined as follows. Emergency, intermittent tone. This alarm will be sounded, but not limited, for the following: process upset gas leaks, fires, etc., which present a hazard for potential evacuation only. Purpose of this alarm is to notify and make personnel aware of potential serious problem in the process area and to notify contractors to shut down all equipment and to prepare for evacuation. Evacuation. Continuous tone. This alarm will be sounded when total evacuation is deemed necessary. If you hear this tone, evacuate to the designated assembly area. All clear. The all clear will be given verbally when the hazardous situation has been eliminated and the area is safe for return. The alarm system will be tested weekly. This is done on Monday at approximately 12 noon. Malfunctions of the alarm system will be given priority to ensure it is returned to a fully functional status as soon as possible. To prepare for an evacuation, a plot plan with marked evacuation routes is provided in your orientation packet. The primary assembly area for this facility is at Conway Junction to the east and First Blacktop to the west. Everyone on site should meet at the assembly area to be accounted for. If you hear the evacuation siren, quickly go to the closest evacuation exit gate and then proceed to the assembly location. Each emergency may impose unique conditions, which may require personnel to deviate from the prescribed routes and assembly areas. In the event the primary assembly site shown on the plot plan is deemed unsafe, an alternate location will be communicated to everyone. This alternate location may be upwind or crosswind from the plant or process area and is located just outside the location. The incident commander and emergency coordinators will determine if alternate evacuation routes or assembly areas are needed. Changes will be communicated by radio or personal contact. Once again, in the event of an evacuation alarm, shut off vehicles and/or equipment and walk quickly to the appropriate location using the appropriate evacuation route for your area. At Oneok, we take individual safety very seriously. Therefore, it is important that we are aware of who is at the site. Signing in and out each time you enter or exit this facility is your first priority. Please report all hazardous conditions immediately, not only for your safety, but for the safety of all who are here. Oneok is committed to safe environmental practices and provides waste disposal containers throughout the facility. We ask that you follow good environmental practices by preventing spills and releases and by using chemicals and solvents carefully. Spill prevention measures should be in place before work begins. Spills and releases are to be cleaned up immediately and reported to a Oneok representative. You are responsible for the removal and disposal of all unused products brought to the facility by you or your workers. Oily rags, filters, rubbish, or chemical-saturated materials are to be placed in the appropriate waste containers for disposal. Contact your Oneok representative if you are unsure. Before you consider any job complete, your work area must be cleared of all waste materials and equipment. Any hazardous conditions created from the work you do must be eliminated. Trash cans are provided for general waste such as papers and non-hazardous material containers. Your conduct and the conduct of your fellow workers while at this facility determine if you are contracted for services again. Horseplay, practical jokes, scuffling, wrestling, or throwing objects will not be tolerated. Any actions that startle or distract other employees and/or cause injury are not allowed. In particular, harassment of any kind will not be tolerated. Offensive hard hat decals, cat calls or whistles, and unwelcome sexual advances are considered harassment while you are on this property. If an emergency arises to where you need a storm shelter, report to the control building. In summary, our policy is to manage all operations in a manner that protects the health and safety of our employees, customers, contractors, and the public. Environmentally, we are committed to the prevention of releases, eliminating wastes, and maintaining an open communication with our employees, customers, regulators, and our neighbors. You are welcome here at this Oneok facility, but we do ask that you abide by the safety measures you have been presented today. Remember to follow good safety and environmental practices to ensure everyone's safety and that a quality environment is maintained. Do your work properly and well, and you will always be welcomed here at Oneok.